Air raid sirens over Tel Aviv, a missile from Yemen, Israeli jets over Iran, Saudi Arabia struck by Houthi ballistic missiles. In a single night, the Middle East lit up from multiple directions simultaneously. This is no longer a war between two countries. It's a region on fire, and the flames keep spreading. Air raid sirens sounded across Tel Aviv and a wide area of central Israel on June 7th after a missile was launched from Yemen by the Iran-aligned Houthi movement, adding another front to the widening regional confrontation. The Israel Defense Forces confirmed that its air defense network was activated after detecting the incoming threat.
The IDF identified that a missile was launched from the direction of Yemen toward Israeli territory. Defense systems are operating to intercept the threat. Follow the instructions of the Home Front Command.
Shortly afterwards, the Israeli military announced that the incident had concluded and residents could leave protected areas. Israel's Magen David Adom Emergency Service reported no direct casualties or impacted sites from the missile attack. However, medics treated one individual who was injured while rushing to seek shelter. Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Saree claimed that Yemeni forces had carried out a missile strike against Israel. In a televised statement, Saree said the attack targeted sites in the occupied Jaffa region and was conducted as part of the group's ongoing campaign against Israel.
The Yemeni armed forces launched a missile attack. It targeted sensitive targets for the Israeli enemy in the occupied Jaffa region, and it achieved its goal successfully by the grace of God. And in this context, the Yemeni armed forces emphasize the following. First, we fully and completely declare the presence of naval navigation on the Israeli enemy in the Red Sea.
The Houthi spokesperson also declared that the operation was intended as a response to what he called US and Israeli actions against resistance groups.
In support of the US and Zionist aggression against jihad and resistance in Iran, Palestine, Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen. In rejection of the Zionist project to establish a greater Israel under the new Middle East. And an effort from us to break the unjust and cruel siege imposed by the US enemy on our people and the people of the free and noble direction in Lebanon, Gaza, and Iran, and within the framework of the principle of unity of the fields and confrontation of the enemies.
The launch came amid growing regional tensions following Israeli strikes on Iranian targets and renewed exchanges involving Iran-backed groups across the Middle East. According to media reports, the Yemen's foreign ministry, which praised Iran's recent missile response against Israel following attacks on Beirut. In a statement, the ministry said,
"The era of the Israeli enemy entity's aggression has come to an end, and this criminal entity understands only the language of force. The operation reinforces the equation of unity of fronts and undermines the equation of permissiveness and violation that the Israeli enemy entity has sought to establish."
Meanwhile, the IDF said Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir and senior commanders were overseeing ongoing military operations against Iran from the Israeli Air Force Operations Center.
The Chief of the General Staff and senior IDF officers are currently commanding IDF strikes in Iran from the Air Force's operations room. The IDF is in full readiness for both attack and defense.
The developments coincided with reports that Prince Sultan Air Base in central Saudi Arabia was targeted with ballistic missiles and drones in an attack reportedly launched from Yemen, though details remain limited. With missile exchanges now stretching from Yemen and Saudi Arabia to Israel, Lebanon, and Iran, raising concerns that multiple theaters could become active simultaneously. Israel launched airstrikes against targets in western and central Iran, hours after Tehran fired a salvo of missiles towards Israel, in a move that appeared to defy US President Donald Trump's public call for restraint. The Israel Defense Forces announced that Israeli warplanes had already begun retaliatory operations.
The Air Force, guided by military intelligence, struck military targets of the Iranian terror regime in western and central Iran a short while ago. Further details to follow.
According to local Iranian media, explosions were reported in Tehran, Tabriz and Isfahan, shortly after the Israeli announcement. Israel's strikes came despite Trump's efforts to prevent another round of escalation. Speaking to Israel's Channel 12 and later to Fox News, the US president said he intended to personally urge Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to retaliate.
I'm going to call Bibi right now and tell him not to retaliate. Each of them had their fun. Israel had its strike and Iran had its strike. We don't need another one. I don't want to see an additional attack tonight.
Trump argued that a fresh Israeli response could jeopardize ongoing diplomacy with Tehran.
We're very close to a deal with Iran. I would say an agreement would be signed on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of this coming week. And now this takes place.
Earlier, in an interview with the Financial Times, Trump had emphasized Washington's control over negotiations, stressing that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will have no choice but to accept any deal the US negotiates with Iran.
He won't have any choice. I call the shots. I call all the shots. Netanyahu doesn't call the shots. It's not going to have any impact on the deal.
Meanwhile, Israeli political figures across the spectrum backed a forceful response. Far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir posted on X.
Tonight, Tehran must burn.
Former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett also called for a strong military response.
This is a moment of truth. Is Israel a sovereign state capable of defending itself? A weak or symbolic response will signal to our enemies that the blood of our citizens has been spilled with impunity. Therefore, Israel must act with strength and effectiveness. In this matter, we all, every citizen of Israel, stand together.
Iran, meanwhile, defended its missile attack as a response to Israeli operations in Lebanon. In a televised statement, Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters spokesman Ibrahim Zolfagari warned that further Israeli action would trigger a harsher response.
Despite previous warnings from the Islamic Republic of Iran, the child-killing Zionist regime, having crossed all red lines and increased its attacks in southern Lebanon, has targeted Beirut's Dahiyeh. We had warned that if the crimes in Beirut's Dahiyeh expand, we would attack targets within the occupied territories. The Zionist army must stop its attacks on southern Lebanon and Dahiyeh. Should it expand its attacks on that region or respond to Iran's action, it will face even more crushing and regrettable blows, and devastating attacks will be launched against the regime and its supporters. Victory is only from God, the Almighty, the Wise.
The IDF said its air defense systems intercepted all incoming Iranian missiles, reporting no successful impacts.
The Air Force has intercepted all the missiles launched from Iran so far. The IDF has now identified additional launches fired toward the State of Israel. The Air Defense Array is continuously identifying and intercepting threats. You are requested to continue to heed the instructions of the Home Front Command and the guidelines distributed to you.
With Israeli jets already striking Iranian territory despite Trump's public objections, the question now is whether this latest round of retaliation remains limited or opens the door to a broader regional confrontation.